Hello, I'm Lady Juniper and welcome. Today I want to talk about Neuvillette because, my opinion matters. And what I think about him as a character and whether or not I would recommend to you whether or not to pull him. I pulled for him on my free-to-play and on my main account. We are today on my free-to-play account. You can tell it's free-to-play because it has his signature weapon. But we will not be testing him today with his signature weapon, because that wouldn't be fair, because most people wouldn't have it. Fortunately, Neuvillette has a really good free-to-play weapon that you can use. It's the prototype Amber. It gives HP stats, it gives really good energy recharge, and it heals your entire party. It's a really solid option. It is a big damage drop to his signature, and he's second best, but it is his third best weapon behind the Battle Pass one, which is pretty decent considering this is a craftable. I don't only have it refinement 2 on this account, but that shouldn't really matter much because Neuvillette is a really flexible character. Just to show off my Neuvillette, without his signature, he's at 138 on 169. Got a lot of HP. I haven't finished building him, so he doesn't have the entire hydro damage bonus here, but that's fine. He has some okay artifacts. They can be improved upon, I think. But he's on the Mashasasi Hunter, or however you pronounce that artifact set. Not fully done. I think it's only the cup left I have to level, so we'll do the damage based off that. Besides HP, energy recharge is at 122, which is fine. Perfectly fine. Because Neuvillette doesn't actually need a lot of energy recharge. Not because he doesn't need it, it's just having his burst every rotation isn't actually very important. He is C0 on this account. I have him at C1 on my main account, and I will be talking about the difference later. But I just wanted to show him off for now. He's at level 80. I should probably heal him. And let's just give a little demonstration of what he can do. So how you play Neuvillette is you use your E and you do damage, like 8k damage, pretty good. He has a passive. That means if you do reactions, you then do more damage. So we were doing 8k. Somehow we're doing less damage. I think we weren't critting. But that was a 13. That was 13. Doing just one reaction puts his damage up. And ideally, you want to run 3 reactions on him, which is why, or at C0 at least, which is why I have Kazura, Kiara, and Zhangling. Now, you need at least 1 shield unit or similar at C0. You can move around quite well when you're charging, this is reasonably good, but if anything hits you, you are falling out the air, and having the C1 resistance does make him feel a lot different to play, because you don't need a shielder. You don't have to plan your team around a shielder, and there aren't really many shield options you can choose from anyway. You've got Kiara, Baiju, Layla, they'll shield Yanfei, I guess, if you've got a C4. Xinyan, technically any Geo unit, including, where is she? Noelle. Shields. You also, of course, have the likes of Beidou, who gives interruption resistance, and Daya. I believe Daya is a pretty solid option because her interruption resistance on her skill, where Beidou it's on her ult, and Beidou has serious energy issues, which means you'd want to run her with a second electro unit or have 300 ER on her to get her burst stuff, which isn't great. Any other shielders I've missed? I feel like I've missed one. No, Toma doesn't work with him. Toma doesn't work because his ult relies on normal attacks. You don't normal attack, so there's no reason to use Toma on him. I know there's Diona. I'm sure I said Diona. Yeah, I think that's it for shielders. Oh, and Zhongli if you had him, obviously, but I said any Geo unit. There is not a massive amount of shield options. Like, there's only 2 5-star shields. It's like Beiju and Zhongli. But the 4-star options give you a massive selection of variety either. I mean, obviously, Layla, I think, is a popular one because she has really good shield. You want Layla to have a really good shield so that her cryo damage keeps applying. I quite like Kiara. I just think she's a fun unit in general. Even though she doesn't synergize perfectly with him, she's much better in a spread team. But I feel like the Dendra application is much more useful in breaking certain shields. And that's it. It's not a great amount of options, really. But you need a shielder at C0. Because I'll show you. I have a little demonstration here. There we go. We just knocked out of our charge attack there. So by having a shield, I don't think my Kiara is fully geared up. They didn't hit me, but like I would have withstood a few blows from them had they tried. A lot of the time, it's not a big issue. Like, obviously, it depends on like enemies' attack strings and stuff, but I feel like you're gonna feel it more from the Abyss when there's harder enemies to fight and stuff. Besides needing a shielder at C0, he's a fairly flexible unit. Like, because his own personal damage is so high, he's not actually reliant on the rest of the team being good. I'm sure you've seen by now all the clips and pictures of people doing Abyss with just Neuvillette, and I'm assuming people are doing that with C1 Neuvillette because, well, I imagine you could do it C0 if you're really good at kiting. That interruption resistance at C1 is incredibly strong. I do feel a difference when I'm playing him on my main account to when I'm playing him on my free-to-play account. It just you feel it, especially if you're being wailed on. But because he's on Hunter, like, he's really easy to build as a character. Like, he's the easiest character to build because you're getting an incredible amount of crit off of the artifact set for free. So, like, I only like have plus 33 crit rate, and because of I'm on the set, it gives me 74 when I've triggered the conditions. So you only really need to build like lots of crit damage on him with a little bit of crit rate. Like, you don't really need a crit rate circlet. And if you have the battle pass weapon, you don't need any of the artifacts to have crit rate on them at all. You can just roll crit damage pieces because the battle pass weapon gives you all the crit you need, which means you can have a greater variety in stats. Like, you can focus on pieces of energy recharge, crit damage, HP percentage, and EM, rather than looking for pieces of crit damage and crit rate. It gives you more options for builds, which is pretty good. As you can see, my pieces are terrible. I have hope for this one. We could have a really high crit rate. As a unit, he's so easy to play. Like, there's not a more brain dead character than Neuvillette at all. Like, because he has like a 24-second rotation, and he's not even particularly strict on how you do his rotation. Like, because you can take him on and off the field as you need to, because his duration on the field is dependent on how many source water droplets there are. If one of your things is down, you can just switch out and pop them. Now, the source water droplets don't last a super long time. Just, it is possible for you to trigger all of your abilities, your E and your Q, and for one stack of the water droplets to have disappeared by the time you get around to using them. So, say you've used all your abilities You do your Q, you do your E, switch into Kazuha, you do his burst, you switch into Kara, you do a Q and E, and then you do your Zhangling Q and E, you go back to Neuvillette, start charge attacking, and by the time you've done your first 2 charge attacks, 3 of those the last 3 Source Water droplets will have vanished. Now there are cases where you can do all 3 if you've put them all down, but likely as not, your third lot of droplets will have disappeared, which doesn't usually matter because you're ease off cooldown by then. But the way I think it's best to do it is to demonstrate. These guys are quite tough. You do your Q, you do your Kazuha, you do your Kiara, shield, you do your Zhanglin, and then you do your things. And you do your things. And then if they were still alive, which they're not, they're pretty dead, you would do your skill. And begin the rotation again. It's pretty easy. Yeah, he's such a simple character to use. And there's an infinite amount of team comp you can use him for, especially if you have lots of characters to use. This is my free-to-play account. I don't have lots of characters to use, but characters I'm probably going to build for him is Daya, because her interruption resistance is on her skill and is quite strong. It makes her a really good partner for him, and he can vape all of her skill things. Problem is you don't really use her ult at all in that. If you're a big Daya lover and love using all of her abilities, you don't need her ult. And I imagine you'd build an instructor, right? I've just got my Daya, so I haven't done anything with her yet. She will get leveled when I have stuff for her. I have begun the process of getting the things she needs, but I have all these people to level. But yeah, he's pretty flexible. One person I'm looking forward to running with Neuvillette is actually Lynette, who I'm slowly getting up to level 80 on this account, and I've already got up to level 80 on my main account for the reason of using her with Neuvillette. Why would I want to use Lynette with Neuvillette? Well, her little hat thing favors Hydro for absorption, and she gives an attack buff on the more diverse party you have. So all your teammates, I mean, this doesn't really matter to Neuvillette, but all your teammates are getting an attack buff. And Neuvillette at C0, especially, wants a very team for more reactions. Now, it's really hard unless you make sure to do Kazuha or Circros or Venti straight after Neuvillette to swirl Neuvillette's abilities, because Neuvillette's abilities doesn't have like a strong Hydro application or something, which makes it really difficult to do like a double swirl Taser team thing on him or something, which is fine. Taser isn't actually my favorite archetype to use him. I think like Vape feels really good just because really big damage numbers, honestly. But Lynette, she has a similar, I guess, ult to Circrois, except because her burst favors Hydro, it's a lot easier to infuse it with Hydro. So you put out her box, you put out Neuvillette, you do his skill, you infuse her box of Hydro, you go on to the next person, I guess Zhangling, and or whatever, and then you have, I think her box, I haven't played her much, but it does like a Hydro release and then an Animo release, if I understand it correctly. So you have a greater chance of swirling all the elements on the field, is what I understand the point of Lynette over Circrois, who will only swirl the 1 or the 2 if your timing's really good, I guess. but I don't think Cirque Crisis ult can spoil 2. I know Kazua's can, but I don't think Cirque Crisis can. I don't use Cirque Crisis, honestly, so I might just be talking rubbish. Yeah, I feel like Lynette, like people don't I haven't seen anybody really talk about Lynette with Neuvillette, but I feel like, especially at C0, because she buffs the rest of the team, and if you don't have like a Bennett in your team for your Zhangling, that 20% damage bonus you get from her talent, attack buff, it's not that dissimilar to Bennett's, is it? I mean, yeah, he gives a lot more. A lot more. But it is a sizable replacement. Especially if she can offer VV Shred as well to all the pyro, to all the elements. So I guess on my ideal team it would be Neuvillette, Zhangling, Lynette, and I guess Kiara. And I feel like it gives more chance for more vapes, because Neuvillette only really hits in a straight line. And obviously you've got Zhangling's AoE, which means there's just some hits that might not be vaping. Which is why you want Kazuha stuff to be applying Hydro, right? There's just so many teams you can build with him. Like you just slap on whatever characters you want and he just works. And if you don't have his C1, you want to run him in like a team with a double, so like double Hydro or double Electro or double Pyro, you aren't missing the 160. But I don't feel like that's a huge deal at C0. Obviously the C1 means less thought required for team building, because you can build more traditional team structures. But because you're probably replacing a more cohesive team that works together better, it probably makes up the damage percentage you're losing here in the third slot at C0. Obviously, if you had his C1, you'd gain big damage increase and still be able to run the double teams. But honestly, unless it's for Hydro Resonance, he doesn't need a second Hydro unit. I know people suggest to play him with Mona for the extra energy recharge, but he doesn't need his burst every rotation, because his like rotation so flexible. Like you just put in the burst when you have time, when it fits. It doesn't feel bad not to have it. It's nice to have it, and I know he still has a really big cooldown. Oh, yes. But if you don't have his burst up, it's actually fine. It's actually fine. Giant robot, eh? I think he's fine. And obviously, Neuvillette just does crazy damage. I don't think I've really showcased his damage very much in this, have I? His damage potential. Let's go find something tough to beat up. I'll show you. So we got this new boss, who very lovely stands still. So let's just get all our abilities up. We don't even have our ults, but it doesn't really matter. We just no effort. As you can see, skills back. I don't need his ult. I've got the droplets down again. I don't even. I thought the gravity thing was up. Bush. We're doing 19k. Oop. And we have his burst up. We're not going to heal, because he should be able to heal enough himself. He should, in theory. There we go. Full health. Doing 40k. Oh, shield down. It's fine. And at the end, there we go. 43k on a vape, and he's not even built. I didn't need to do that. Why did I do that? I didn't need it. No. What character am I gonna get? Which I'll need this. Sure, there'll be a 4-star. They'll need it eventually. Maybe Charlotte. She's out next, right? But yeah, as you can see, not even good team, not even fully built team. Like, I don't even think Kiara has full artifacts. Do you have full artifacts? No. That's why her shield's so terrible. Do you have full artifacts? I think my Jangling has full artifacts. Yeah, we didn't even have Jangling's burst up, and it didn't matter. My Kaiser is built mostly. That's the thing. His damage is good. His skill comes back quick enough that it doesn't matter if you don't have his burst or not. If you have his burst up, all it means is you can do charge attack, charge attack, charge attack. So if you did have your Jangling ult up, you could pop it and just continuously charge attack without having to keep swapping back and forth. But it's fine. It's actually fine. He's such a fun character to play, and his voice lines are just delightful, utterly delightful. He's more test subjects. Bam, up. Just think what I could do if my team was fully built. Like, my energy recharge isn't too bad on prototype. Oh gosh. I don't even have full level skills, and I still did like 34 on a vape. I think leveling up his skill and burst are kind of optional because most of his damage is in his charge attack, but I think... Let me check. Yeah, so his second talent, I think, does increase the damage of his skill and his burst. And because this can affect your talent and your burst, it means it is worth having them leveled to a degree, like at least like to 6, because while the like multipliers aren't like incredibly breathtaking compared to other characters, this will ensure that they do damage. Like, I think people, like, when they think of these two, they only think about them in lines with the charge attack. But this applies to all of his abilities. This is only his charge attack, but this is all of his abilities, which is quite nice, I think. Yeah, he's pretty good. Like, if you don't have a DPS on your account, he's 100% worth a pickup because he's stupid easy to build. Like, you need a HP Hourglass, a Hydro Goblet, and a crit damage Circlet. Or you can have a HP Circlet if you've got stats good enough on it. It's not recommended to go HP here because the Hydro damage, I think, is better. But you can go HP, Hydro, HP if you've got artifacts that good, as far as like crit value goes. And because it's HP is one of the easiest stats to get on a artifact. He just wants Mecha Hunter, which nearly all the Fontaine casts are going to want for you to farm until some of the characters get their own exclusive sets. But I can't imagine a different set being better for Neuvillette. This set is just too good. And the alternative set, Golden Troop, is good on Fischl, and everybody uses Fischl. Weapons, he has... His third best weapon is a craftable prototype Amber, which you could have R5, well, I would say very easily because I don't have an R5 on my main account. And yeah, like, he's super easy to just build as a character. If you had good artifacts, you could easily get his crit damage to 200 because the crit rate doesn't matter so much. Like, I think as long as you have at least, like, as much as I do, like at least 30 crit rate on him, when the buff goes up to like 70 or something, which is a lot of crit rate, a lot of free crit rate. Whether I would recommend the C1 over the weapon, I feel like the C1 is more worth going for than the weapon because it does give you a lot more flexibility with teams because you don't need a shielder. And I usually don't play with a shielder. I'm only playing with a shielder with Neuvillette because he needs one. He needs one to feel comfortable to play. I don't bother playing him with a shielder on my main account because he doesn't need one. I can just play him with Kazua, Jingling, and Fischl, and it's fine. He can get knocked about, and he doesn't care because he's just like a rock. It's like he's got Zhongli's shield on him. He's just solid as a unit. And you have more flexibility teams-wise. Yes, I would recommend TC1, but it's not a must-pull. Because without it, you just need a shielder or just be good at kiting. And a lot of enemies have very predictable attack strings that if you're really good at the game, you can avoid. But if you're not very good at dodging, then just build a really good shielder. Ones I would think about you using, Dea. I know she's not a shielder, but her resistance is really good. I have been thinking a lot about Xinyan as a shielder. I can't remember if she needs constellations to do it. No. So if you didn't know, Xinyan shield, and you might not know this because you probably never used it, does shoot out pyro quite regularly. I can't remember how many ticks it is, but it's a decent amount of ticks. So she's one of the units who can apply pyro from off field, and she's a defense scaler as well, and her burst does do decent pyro damage. I know it's like a more of a physical thing, but you can build pyro Zhangling. It's not an issue. It's probably the better way to build it, honestly. But yeah, you can build Zhangling as a shielder, and she's a better option over Toba as a shielder because she doesn't require normal attacks. And having some constellations on her just means it's easier to get. I think it's shield absorption level 3, I think. So yeah, shield level 3. So if you have a constellation, it's pretty good. Because that gives you shield level 3, I think, on her ult, or on like 2 units that are hitting or whatever. If you can get it, which isn't like 100%, you've got off-field pyro application and a shield. Obviously, Zhangling is better as a pyro unit, but I wouldn't scrub out Xinyan as a potential scrubbing if you need a shield and you just want to get some pyro application on the field intermittently, so his charge attack vapes. I haven't actually tested it yet. I might do that on my main account, see how it actually plays. So my final thoughts on Neuvillette. He's a really good unit. He's really easy to use. He's not like Hu Tao, which requires skill to play. No skill required for Neuvillette. He's just good. He just does damage really easily with no effort required. Now, people might wonder if he's like power creeped Ayato. I don't think so. If you already have Ayato, Ayato is still good, and Ayato is better in like Nilou teams or certain teams, way better than Neuvillette, because Neuvillette doesn't trigger as many reactions as Ayato, as well as the fact that Neuvillette loses a lot of personal damage in like Nilou Bloom, like a lot of personal damage, because he's only getting one reaction, and Neuvillette's thing is kind of more about his personal damage. I mean, he's not a hyper carry because like the rest of his team damage does matter, but by putting him in Nilou Bloom, you are losing a lot of his personal damage, and for that reason, Ayato is way better in Nilou Bloom if you have him. I think there's some other archetypes that Ayato is better in. I thought it was actually raining then, but yeah, he isn't power creeping Ayato. Ayato has things he's better at, like he has off-field Hydra application, for example. He can run in Nilou Bloom without being punished damage-wise. But Neuvillette does big numbers. Swoosh, swoosh, all of the big numbers. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Oh, he's so cool. No faults required. Only pretty dragon man. Yes, I would recommend him. I don't think he's a must pull, especially if you already have some really strong units. But I will say, I managed the 36, the Abyss, with him and Al Haytham on the other side, like within half an hour. It felt so easy to do because I only did like a couple of retries. And like I've struggled so long to 36 star the Abyss, and this time it felt ridiculously easy. So yeah, if you want a easy to build DPS, I feel very flexible to play, can have incredibly flexible teams. Doesn't really matter if his ult is up or not. It's helpful if it is. Not end of the world if it isn't. Then Neuvillette is a great character, and I 100% recommend him. And yeah, if you have any questions, put them down below. I feel like all the YouTubers have said all the best stuff about him already, so there's not really much to add. He is strong. He is strong. He is easy to play. He is easy to build. He's just a really good character. Let me know what you think. Did you pull for Neuvillette? Let me know down below. Please leave a like on this video. Do subscribe. I also have some thoughts about the lore of Genshin Impact, such as why did the Oceanids leave? I know why the Oceanids left. It's really obvious why the Oceanids left. It's so obvious why the Oceanids left. But you'll have to wait for when I do a video on that. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.